Howdy ho ho, my good humans. How are you doing? You see a little weird thing on your screen today. A lot of damn numbers. Hopefully I didn't miscount my numbers. I've been known to fuck up a thing or two on the technical side here. But we got 21 numbers in this tier maker ranking list. And then we also have 21 games. So you're probably asking yourself, why? Well, you're probably not asking yourself because you read the title of the video, and the title of the video probably told you why. But we're ranking every game of the year that has ever won the award. Um, so Loon, I don't know, did y'all have the Spike Game Awards where you grew up?
We may have done. It's not something that I recall personally.
So the Spike Game Awards, that was the first thing ever that really like got me into the idea of game awards because it was on like mainstream cable, um, every single year. And it was something that it was ridiculous. It was batshit crazy. You had Samuel L. Jackson coming out there. You had a bunch of celebrities popping up. It was very, but I have nostalgia for that. Every now and then, like they're on YouTube still. You can go and watch pretty much all of them. And every now and then, I'll just get into that mood where I want to go back and watch the Spike Game Awards. So I'll go and flip it on, and it's like, damn, man, good times where Madden 2004 was winning Game of the Year, which we'll get to that in a second. But anyway, so the reason that we have, and we got to shout out uh, totally tubular. What's the
Is it
Jonathan?
totally Johnson? Jonathan?
John,
No,
yeah,
Jonathan. Jonathan.
Jonathan. Okay.
Yeah.
Got to shout out that channel because that's how the whole idea for this came into my brain was I saw that
Mm.
he ranked all of the game of the years and he did just the Keeleys, the 2014 to 2023. But Keeley had some association with Spike as well, whether he wants people to remember it or not. But he was massively represented on the Spike Game Awards stage as well. And I just I don't know. I had nostalgia for that. I thought it'd be fun to include those games into our ranking here today as well. So we're going to be going through 2003 all the way up to 2023. So 21 games, and we have all individual slots for how we are going to rank them. And this is going to be really tough. So Loon and I are going to we're going to come up with, we have to agree on this to some extent. And then we'll have to battle it out with the war of the words as we go through this here. So yeah, man. Loon, you have any questions before we kick this thing off? Because I still have some questions myself, and I'm not sure what the hell we're doing here.
We'll feel our way through it. The question isn't related to like how we're going to be picking it. What was his first Game Awards? Game of the Year. What title was that?
Inquisition 2014
Oh
for
God.
Keeley.
What a what a crazy start.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think Keeley took over the Spike Game Awards in a big way around like maybe 20, like towards the end. I don't have fresh memory of this, but I remember Keeley, I think in 2013 hosted the Spike Game Awards, and I think that was the last one that they ever did. And then he went on to do his own thing in 2014, which was such a rough year. So it's like, all the odds were stacked against him in 2014 to make that show interesting. But I think we're both in a similar camp now where I fucking love the Game Awards. I love tuning into it. I don't take it overly serious about the awards, but I love the reveals and there's definitely some shit they need to fix about kicking people off the stage while they're speaking, and it doesn't
Yeah,
feel like it's honoring the creators as much, but I love the consumerist aspect of it.
it just feels, especially obviously with it being in December, it just feels cozy as well, coming
Yes.
around each year and like whether or not you put weight into what actually wins what, it's just a treat for
Yep.
gamers. It's just you bring everybody in one collective place and we're there and there's no obviously some people can get angry about what wins what, but we're all there to celebrate gaming from top to bottom, every
Yeah.
aspect of it, and that's that.
Yeah, and I think if you put too much stock in the winners and the losers, I think that you're kind of missing the point. Like the winners and the losers or whatever the fuck you choose, the games you play, the games you enjoy, whatever the critical consensus is, who gives a shit? I think it's fun. It's just fun to engage in sort of the discussion, the debate. But whenever it gets to a point past like, you know, fun sort of rambling back and forth, shooting the shit, and it gets a little bit more heated, I'm like, okay, man,
Heated,
we're
yeah.
talking about video games here. Let's have some fun. Um, all right. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off because we could sit here and ramble all day about the state of video games discourse. We have Madden 2004. So, you know, um, 2003 had some other heavy hitters. Knights of the Old Republic came out in '03. There were some other games that I think would have made sense to be picked in '03 over Madden 2004. But I will say, Madden 2004, you could argue either Madden '04 or Madden '08. I think most people would argue those are the two greatest Madden games of all time. Madden '04, I believe that was where you had the mini games introduced for the first time. You had I know for a fact you had the playmaker system introduced for the first time where you could you could hot route things or flip the run direction. And you could even after the snap, like reroute receivers mid play, like as the play was going on, which is fucking revolutionary at the time. And, yeah, the creation suite was much better than it ever had been before. The franchise mode was much better than it ever had been before. It was a really, really good sports game, and it's still, I think you can still play it today and it holds up really well. Here's the problem. You can say it's one of the greatest sports games ever, and I would agree with that. But look at this it's a murderer's row of the greatest games ever. Just overall, not, genre agnostic. These are some of the greatest video games that have ever been created in the history of ever. So does Madden stack up next to that? I could almost kind of see this going at 21 immediately, but I,
Um, yeah, the thing that I'm trying to keep in, like, to give everything a little bit of a fair chance is you can view it as a sports game, right? But what impact did it have on every other sports game moving forward? Because you said it introduced like mini games and stuff like that. How important was this title for that specific genre?
Yeah, you can make the argument that it's the most important football game ever made,
Hmm.
in terms of the features that were added in. But I think once again you go to 2004, and obviously San Andreas is the winner there for the Spike Game Awards in 2004. But I think you could make the argument that NFL 2K5 is really the superior football game and is now looked at as the greatest football game ever. So I think that a year earlier with Madden coming out and being looked at as the greatest football game ever, that being overshadowed the following year kind of takes away from the way I look at Madden '04 today, which is unfortunate and maybe not fair to Madden '04. But you know what? How about we go? Because right now we're just kicking this thing off. Let's throw it at like 16, and
Yeah,
we'll
we
kind
can
of
always knock it down and
definitely.
then kick it down the road every single entry.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're gonna do throughout this is like we'll discuss, debate, and we'll move all this shit around. So if we're here for fucking 3 hours, we apologize. We'll try to get through it. It's only 21 games. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas '04 Spike Game Awards 2004 Game of the Year. Loon, are you a San Andreas head?
Oh, I very much am. I
Me
remember,
too.
I can't remember what year it was. Um, that I mean, I was in school, like coming out of school and picking that up from Woolworths, I believe it was, and sitting in Iceland waiting for my mum to finish shopping. Because that's what I mean. That's when you know a game is incredible when it's able to latch on a memory like that. I remember sitting on it. They had the glass panes at the front of the store, and they had these little lips that you could sit on. And I'm just sitting there reading the back of it like a like an 8 year old, 7 year old kid just reading the back of GTA San Andreas, waiting to get home and just experience that for the whole first time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm a humongous San Andreas guy. It's my favorite Grand Theft Auto game ever. I replayed it for the first time from start to finish this year, and it's been years and years since I've played it from start to finish. I did that this year. And I'll go back to the gym all the time. Just pop the game in, go back to the gym, go grab some food, go shoot some pool or some basketball or whatever the case may be. But this going back and then replaying it in its entirety, it puts it in a totally different light to me. When you see Vegas for the first time in San Andreas is astonishing, dude. Genuinely astonishing to have that many cities of California represented, to also have a Vegas, it's not like the entirety of Vegas or the entirety of California, but to have these two massive, massive landmarks represented in San Andreas and no loading screens to get from one to the other. Like that is a technical marvel, dude. I think you can make an argument that this is the most impressive sim. Uh, this has the most impressive sim elements to any non-sim game ever. With CJ, you go to the gym, you lift the weight, and you do it for a week in-game time, you see your body start to evolve. You go and you eat a bunch of damn Cluckin' Bell, you're gonna get fat. You go and you do some deep sea diving, your lung capacity improves. You go and shoot your weapon at the shooting range, your weapon accuracy improves. Going for runs, running on the treadmill, your stamina improves. Like it's nuts, dude. It's absolutely nuts. I don't know what you feel. I think that this is easily, I
I
mean,
mean, not top five.
yeah, let's
Like
throw it in five for now, and then
because
we'll
it's not like you think GTA and its significance as like an IP. Every time that it comes out, it dominates and dominates. But so many aspects of this game never really made its way forward.
yes,
They
because it's
left it
impossible.
behind. Yeah, because it already takes them long enough to make these games. If they implemented all of them now with everything being as realistic as possible and stuff, you're talking you'd probably add on another 10 years development time for every single title.
No doubt. And I think that's the thing. If GTA 6 comes out with that and you see those features, you're like, oh yeah, now I understand why it took 10 years. It's so technically just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable that they were able to pull that off in 2004, 2 years after Vice City, by the way. What the crunch was real on that shit. 2005, Resident Evil 4, the game that changed it all for the third person shooter. That over the shoulder perspective really kind of cemented itself as the de facto way that third person shooters would be developed from that point on. Um, so I think that Resident Evil 4 in some ways, like it doesn't get enough credit for what it did for Resident Evil. Because you look at RE3 came out and it sold well, but it was like looked at critically as, kind of RE 2.2. And then you had a weird period with Resident Evil. We had some dead aim and some outbreak. Outbreak was really good, but it just didn't hit on that commercial level that like the first game and second game did. And then Code Veronica comes out and was exclusive to the Dreamcast for a little bit. It doesn't really hit on a commercial sales level. And then even you go to RE1 Remake, GameCube exclusive. It didn't hit quite like, they probably, Capcom probably wish they did. And so you have RE4 that was also exclusive to the GameCube. But when those reviews came out, Capcom was like, you know, uh, we're going to put that on the PS2 and we're going to get that out to the 100 million, 100 plus million user base. And the game absolutely exploded. Was a huge commercial hit for him, obviously a huge critical hit for him. And yeah, changed the game, totally changed the game for what we expect from third person shooters.
And horror. Like
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people also don't consider is the fact that you moved it into an appealing camera angle. You opened the door for accessibility for people who don't want to interact with the fixed tank-based controls.
Yep.
You modernized it and it makes it a lot more appealing because when you put it up against the lineup of like GTA and stuff that's come out, which is third person and all these amazing third person games in that sense, it was a lot more easier to, oh, well, I will give this a try. Stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And the crazy thing too, and maybe unfortunate, is now we have the remake. It's almost the same thing I said about Madden 04 versus NFL 2K5. If the remake never existed for RE4, I would look back at this game as like, you know, the all-time great of all-time greats. You know what I mean? Like it would be up there, up there. But now that the remake exists, it's like with Madden 04, I would rather just play NFL 2K5 if I'm
Mm.
going back to that era. And if I'm going back to a Resident Evil 4, I would rather play the remake than the original. So it makes me lose a little bit of that those nostalgia shaded glasses, that those rose tinted shades. I don't necessarily wear those for RE4 the way I used to. So
I
what
think
are you thinking?
it has to be minimum top 10
Let's
because you're
throw it at
talking
10.
without that you probably wouldn't have Dead Space. You probably wouldn't
No.
have Gears of War and what it
Nope.
was attempting and stuff like that, where it was pivoting and changing things ever so slightly.
Totally. 1000%, man. It changed everything for third person shooters. So yeah, we'll go 10. I could see that moving up. I don't think
Yeah.
that'll move anywhere down at all, but I could see that moving up. Oblivion. So Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I played this for the first time this year. Loon, I know that you're a little bit hit or miss with Bethesda games. What is your overall opinion on Oblivion?
The thing is what's going to surprise the older you give me a Bethesda game, so the further back you go, the more I like them
Hmm.
because every release that they kept getting more and more, they trimmed down the complexity and the
Yeah.
thought process behind it. Because there's a lot more character sheet building in Oblivion, and then you get to Skyrim, and it is very, very bare bones. So for me, Oblivion, I think it's probably one of their strongest pieces, especially from them as a studio. Because I still think New Vegas is the best kind of like Bethesda take on an
Style.
RPG. Yeah. But Oblivion was very, very important to break out into the 360 market to show
Yes.
RPGs to console players because it was a fairly foreign like you got a few here and there, but it was mainly JRPGs that would make its way to the console side of things. Like you wouldn't really see as many Western RPGs.
No. Not with that level of depth and the choice and
Mm.
all of that shit. I mean, because it took until Mass Effect in 2000. Well, you had like KOTOR, but that
But
it's
that
a
had
different.
like loading screens as well.
Yeah,
That's the big thing, is that it had that kind of thing where it is, and that's the detriment to Starfield. It's all enclosed off.
yeah,
Like that was the big wow factor of Oblivion, is that you come out of that intro section and then it is the world is yours. You can go from one side of the map to the other, and there's no loading screens. Like
yeah.
that's crazy.
I loved those damn arena trials, like the fights,
Yeah.
the battles in the arena. Some of the best shit in that game, man. I love the first time you go through the portal and it's like all that gothic sort of look and everything's on fire and yeah, dude, Oblivion has some great moments. I what are you thinking? Like 12, 13, just for quick placement?
Yeah.
I wouldn't go over RE4, would you?
I mildly debated it for a moment in my head and then I conceded.
Okay.
I was like, no. Maybe 11th,
Okay. Yeah, we'll do 11. I could see that.
because that's
Yeah,
what I was like. Would it go above RE4? I don't think so, but it is really important. So I think it just slots in at that for the time being.
definitely. And I think we should, if you're super passionate about something or I'm super passionate about something, obviously we'll debate when we get there, but we'll kind of for now lean on the positive side of things. BioShock, 2007. I think this is probably one of the most important games ever in terms of storytelling. I think that a game that questioned you, the player, about why you're doing what you're doing, and kind of wrapping all of that around the in-game characters as well, and the really tackling the thought of free will within those game characters, and then that's kind of placed back onto you as the player for you to wrestle with yourself. Like just some real good writing. Ken Levine was on his shit with that Bioshock 1 script. I don't think he ever quite hit that bar again for that type of storytelling. I think gameplay we can, that's a
Yeah.
totally different conversation. I think Infinite has the best gameplay of maybe any first person shooter ever. It's, single player campaign wise. But and also, I don't think Bioshock, because everybody talks about how Bioshock was inspired by System Shock and Deus Ex, which it was obviously. But I think Bioshock crafted the perfect version of an immersive sim to appeal to the mainstream, where it's a little bit more action packed. And then you saw the Dishonored's follow up and you saw the Praise follow up and the Death Loops and like Arcane kind of, in a way, I'm not saying their entire existence is thanks to Bioshock, but like, I don't know without the success of Bioshock, do you ever get a Dishonored, a Prey, a Deathloop?
I think you would get them, you just wouldn't get them on the level that you would have got them. It would have ended up being like the Thief reboot, where
Right.
it wants to achieve something but doesn't nail it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because BioShock 1 I don't think is like the strongest from a gameplay standpoint, but I do think from a game of 2007, like it plays damn good for a video game in 2007. Where are you thinking the placement for BioShock? I would personally go under RE4 and Oblivion. Would you?
Yeah, I was thinking 12. It
Okay.
kind of it perfectly pairs with Oblivion in the sense that these were the years of where they were porting things that, like you said, it was System Shock that it drew inspiration from, and then you have Oblivion drawing inspiration from Morrowind, which was a lot more centered towards like a PC core base and them types. And you've simplified it, but you've simplified it in like the best possible way. Is that it's not lost any of its luster and allure and its importance. It's just trimmed it down perfectly to fit on a console and play well on a console and shine.
Yeah, could not agree more. 12 I think is a good place for that. And we can readjust it later. GTA 4, 2008. I replayed this last year and finished it for the first time last year actually because I've played GTA 4 multiple times in the past, but I never sat through the whole thing. And
Mm.
I did last year. I think you can argue it's the best story ever in a Grand Theft Auto game. I don't think that would even be a hard argument to make. Um, I think that you can also argue it's the worst mechanically of any Grand Theft Auto game ever. Because I think you had the limitations of the PS2, and some of those limitations were actually necessary for Rockstar to understand what they could and couldn't do. And they wouldn't spend as much time trying to do things that they shouldn't do because they knew that they had hardware limitations that would prevent them from getting there. In
Yeah.
GTA 4, those limitations were lessened ex I mean to a totally different degree. The 360 and PS3 hardware, like they pushed it to its limit, man. That's a beautiful beautiful game even for the time. And but I think you lose a lot when you're talking about trying to when they tried to do the over the shoulder shooting and shit and just the shooting in general in GTA 4, no matter how you want to do it. If you want to do the lock on or if you want to do the manual control, it is hard as hell to go back to today and to appreciate it the way you would have in 2008. And even at the time, I think you can make an argument when you see Dead Space and Gears and RE4, it's like, yo, y'all are way behind the times with the shooting in GTA 4.
Yeah. It it like it you perfectly put it with like having the limitations there. Because everybody would look at GTA 3 and San Andreas and Vice City and they were mimicking what they thought was like the best possible like simulation at the time. Like this mimics real life perfectly. So when they had that lift and they were able to make things move realistically with the walking and the drunk, and it's like that's really cool from hitting it from a realism standpoint, but it really does make it frustrating in some aspects and scenarios when it's like you don't want the character to do what it's doing, but it's getting caught up on trying to over animate everything and get
Right.
everything perfect. And then he, walks into a door and stuff like that. And it's like, God damn it, Nico.
100%. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna be honest, Loon. I This is gonna sound so crazy. I think that I value Madden 04 more than GTA 4. And I understand that you'll probably and we can lean towards because I know you'll probably want to put it ahead of Madden 04, and I totally get that. But there is something about Madden 04 where it's like I don't think GTA 4 necessarily did anything that other than the storytelling and the hyper realistic world building. But like I don't really think it did anything, even in terms of the Grand Theft Auto franchise, that elevated it above its peers, you know? And I think Madden '04 in the sports game, entirety of the sports game universe, I think it's elevated to the pinnacle of that entire genre. Whereas I don't even think GTA 4 is at the pinnacle of its franchise, or really, it's kind of towards the bottom, in my opinion.
I think Madden gains a spot and GTA 4 takes Madden's spot.
Okay, hell yeah, Matt, get up
Because
there.
I don't know if you probably were thinking I was gonna try and I'm not that big of a fan of GTA 4. And it's
Okay.
not even like being stuck in the like it was something that I recently finished as well. It was one that I beat about 2 years ago or so. And it has good points, but when you stack it up against every other GTA, it doesn't really outshine, in my opinion.
Fuck. I just thought about something. The decision making. It's really the only game in Grand Theft Auto where you had that level of decision making. That
No,
shit was cool.
you had that in GTA 5. You had your
That one moment, you know, GTA 4 had quite a few of those moments where it gave you agency.
it had a couple, yeah. Um,
You know
mm,
what? It's not right now. It's not even the time to get into the placement. We'll really dive into that in a bit. We're just kind of talking about the games and getting our thoughts all the way out there on them now. And obviously I'll put the timestamps that way people can go and just if they just want to dive into the placement because I know I'm a weirdo. Whenever I'm watching people's game of the year rankings and shit, I really talking about the game is fine and well, but I really want to see you get in there and rank it. Like let's see how this thing shifts
do
out.
the hard part. Stop delaying.
Yeah.
There you go.
Uncharted 2, um, 2009. I think that it was a technical marvel, as all Naughty Dog games are. I mean, it's hard for me not to just go on to the technical side of things with Uncharted 2 because that's what sticks out to me. And maybe that's an issue, but I do think you have all-time moments. The opening is an all-timer. The tank fight is god tier. The train shootout is god tier. Um, the level design, I think it really, um, well, pun intended. I think it leveled up in Uncharted 2. The level design leveled up in Uncharted 2 from having the more, okay, I'm gonna jump into cover, big shootout, boom, on to the next puzzle solving section. Like there were layers to the levels. I'm gonna go up top. I'm gonna sneak down below. You had stealth that was much more functional in Uncharted 2. I just felt like a bigger, more grandiose, like everything from Uncharted 1. It felt like leveled up to the next degree. It kind of exactly what you want from a sequel.
Mm.
Now, I don't think it is towards the top of this list. Um, it's a really good third person action adventure game, but I don't think it pushes towards the top of this list, but I probably would go above Madden and GTA 4.
Where would you
Like
think?
14.
Yeah, I'd probably be with that. Because my thought process as well is how much I value where I'm putting them, especially the older titles, is how much hasn't changed since then. Did they land really heavy on what they were setting out to achieve, and they've not really tweaked that since when it's got like sequels and stuff? And it was Uncharted 2, like you said, they were tweaking it, but they hadn't hit that perfect hint hint Last of Us nudge nudge kind of
Yeah.
thing where it's, that's the perfect Naughty Dog game.
Did you notice that they didn't Last of Us didn't win it in 13 for the Spike Game Awards? That's great. And Uncharted 4 didn't win it in 2016. So like it's kind of unfortunate that Uncharted 2 is the game that's up here because I think that you and I would both give flowers to I would give probably more flowers to Uncharted 4 and I would
Yeah.
definitely give more flowers to The Last of Us 1, but neither of them are here. So like Naughty Dog's lone game is sitting at 14. It doesn't feel right, but the other two games I do think are a little bit better. Um, yeah, man. So we'll leave it at 14 for now. Red Dead 1, the only Red Dead Redemption game on this list. That, my friend, is a crime that God of War 20, we'll get to it, but God of War 2018 over Red Dead 2, it's like, dude, what in the world are we thinking? But anyways, Red Dead Redemption, I finished for the first time this year. I feel
Oh,
like it.
damn, really?
Yeah, I've never finished Red Dead until this year. I played through Red Dead, like or played Red Dead quite a bit, but never saw the end of it. I knew the end of it because of just existing and consuming game related content. I knew what happened, but I never saw it through myself. So I
Mm.
finished it this year. I think that's one of the best endings ever in the history of video games. I think one of the best stories in general ever. I think that the gameplay is a lot more fun than people give it credit for with Red Dead Redemption 1, especially when you look at GTA 4 and how limited it
Yeah.
was by comparison. And this is just 2 years later. They really, once again, leveled up. Sorry for my lackluster vocabulary there, but I think that dead aim system was fantastic. I think that there's moments of crazy tension. You know, you're battling a dude up on a mountain and fucking get attacked by a bear, and like these dynamic moments that you just didn't often see in other open world games. And maybe it's because of the setting and then, having to survive out there in the wild, wild west. But I don't know. Red Dead 1, I think I would put it. Oh, okay. Now we're getting into really tough territory. Would you go Red Dead 1 over RE4?
Oh, damn. Oh, I think if I'm being honest, I'd probably move Resi to 9 and then Red Dead to 10.
I love that.
I'm, and that probably sounds crazy to some people. I'm still just fixated on how important that camera change is because it really is that important of, influencing and impacting so many other games. So, yeah, I could see them both continue moving up the list though.
Yeah.
But I think that feels good. There's no way it is below Oblivion.
God, no. No way. Um, but yeah, I think you could make an argument that RE4 is definitely more important. And I think that has to hold some weight here. Skyrim. So this is where you and I are going to differ.
Hmm.
2011 or to the yeah, 2011, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Red
Yep.
Dead 2.
11/11/11 was the release
Right.
date.
Barely got in there for 2011. So I like Skyrim more than Oblivion. I think the combat is just way better. It's Skyrim. I do agree with you. It is a dumbed down, simplified version of Oblivion, but I do think, the abilities and shit are cool. I think it's having the summons and shit and being able to summon a dragon into battle to help you. Like there's some really cool stuff in Skyrim. And I thought that I do think Oblivion's story is better than Skyrim. Definitely a better ending, at least. But I think there's some crazy set pieces and just some like scale is on a different level in Skyrim. I think scale is on a different level in Skyrim than almost anything they've ever created.
Yeah. The thing that I get caught up on is I think it draws very similar comparisons to how I feel about GTA 4 as to like they're both great games and I can't deny that, but I feel like they focused on the cinematic side. So GTA went for realism, whereas Skyrim went and gutted its core systems to make spectacle be the centerpiece. Because that is you can't deny that. The you have pictures of the Northern Lights in their games and stuff like that. Like you can look anywhere and it looks beautiful. But it's had to sacrifice a lot of, the back end mechanics of that and dumbing it down. But that's because, they set out to do something with it and they did achieve it. They wanted to continue that, get it to as many people as possible. And they achieved that big time.
Yeah. I okay, this is the one where we're gonna differ pretty heavily. I would go above Uncharted 2. I would go Oof. I would probably go above. Oh man. Yeah, we're getting to a real rough spot. You know what? How about this? How about we place it? Are you comfortable with 13? And then we'll just because right now I feel like placing it somewhere where we're mildly comfortable and then going back and adjusting later makes some sense.
Yeah, I
All right.
think 13 fits.
Let's go 13 for it. I think that kind of, I'm not saying that's where it will fall, but I think it makes some sense with how we both feel. I really like it. You're maybe not as hot on it. We both really like Oblivion, so maybe Oblivion does end up ranking a little bit higher, but regardless, we'll get to that when we get there. The Walking Dead 2012. So I think this has to fall pretty low on the list, unfortunately. And I just think it's you're talking about other games that are literally all-time greatest from a mechanical standpoint and a storytelling standpoint and an innovation standpoint and like on and on and on. And The Walking Dead, I think, is truly it's one of the all-time great stories. No doubt about it. That first season and the second season, but we're talking about the first season here. It's all-time great. No doubt, but it just lacks any sort of mechanical uh intriguing elements to engage with that all of these other games have that we're going to talk about. I mean, and I'm not even joking when I say like literally every single other game on this list is mechanically more complex than The Walking Dead. And I hate to do that where it's like, okay, well, so choose your own adventure games or point and click games or whatever style of game can't rank amongst these other greats. And it's like, no. I don't mean to be rude, but like there is something of unless you are just truly within that space doing something that has never been seen before. And I don't think that you can you look at Indigo Prophecy, sure The Walking Dead did it better, but like Quantic Dream had games that came out before The Walking Dead that did the exact same thing that The Walking Dead did in 2012. Now Lee and Clementine shit on any other character that David Cage has ever wrote into his games. I don't know, shout out to Connor, but it's I, Loon, save me from the comments right now. I feel like
Oh,
I don't want to
I'm
be too
sorry. I think
rude.
I'm gonna continue twisting it. Um, Unfortunately, I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off right now. I'll happily wear the mask of villain. That goes 21st because every other title I think edges it in some other way. And my big thing, because you've hit on points I would have brought up, but also the way that they tackled making their games just didn't last. It killed their studio. That's a big thing that you got to keep in mind as well, is that there's a huge amount of people that never made it past episode one as well, which is crazy to think about. You're talking about a game that won Game of the Year where people have only played what 1/6 of the title.
Right. And you're talking about with the episodic format of not having a
Yeah,
full game at
yeah,
release. That, yeah, I agree that
yeah.
hurts it.
Um, and it's it gained its main traction when it released it all as a bundle, and we've seen this time and time again. Hitman got massive sales boosts when it ditched. It still obviously had the episodic formula, but when it bundled it all together and sold it, that's when people wanted to invest in it and stuff like that. But it also blew up in popularity so much thanks to the TV show. It came out at the perfect possible
It
time.
did.
And their first IPs where they were taking stabs at it, like Game of Thrones, they went straight in the perfect time for that, and Batman and stuff like that. And then the allure dwindled over time. And
Yeah.
look, they're grasping at straws at the moment. Hopefully, the Wolf Among Us 2 swings real damn hard back, but
Yeah.
they've got an uphill battle to climb. And I don't, has it been confirmed if that's also episodic? Because if
I
that
would
is,
assume so.
that's madness. They need to stop doing that.
They do. Um, there's things I would like to see this above for sure. I think we'll have that conversation when the time comes, but it's definitely to the lower point of the list, so we'll just keep it there for the time being. Um, GTA 5 in 2013. I replayed that this year. I don't, I swear to God, I didn't intend to do any of this stuff, but this kind of ended up being sort of a perfect list for me where I played through a lot of these games
Yeah,
this year, so they're really fresh. Because The Walking Dead, I played through for the first time this year, the
I know
entire
it's
thing.
crazy. Walking Dead, Oblivion, like you said, right?
Red Dead,
Mm.
yeah, crazy man. Skyrim, I played for the first time this year. What the fuck? um, GTA 5. I think a lot of people look at it now and look at the online and have negative feelings of the online and forget how good that story is. Like from mission variety, from the heists to, go
Mm.
into the depths of the sea in your submarine to go into the skies with your helicopter or your plane as Trevor and like, Michael with the slow down shooting, Trevor with the piloting skills, Franklin with the driving skills and slowing down. And like, I don't know, man. And then Trevor with his rage for his like, his actual skill that you can use in game and pretty much turning into Wolverine. It just impervious to damage for a little bit. Um, I
The instant switching as well. That doesn't
yeah,
get any nobody really ever brings that up. Like you're talking, you hold a button. This map is huge, and you're talking they accomplished that on the 360
yes,
PS3, and it goes do do do. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it got hung up on the loading, like
yeah.
30, 40 seconds sometimes, but then it would go boop boop boop, and then not only would it give you the character, they're doing something.
Trevor sleeping in a dumpster, Michael's, arguing with a yoga instructor. Yeah.
So like that's perfect. It just adds to the immersion. It's not just like, oh, you tapped over to that character and they've done nothing. Like they don't exist outside. Like everybody's doing their own thing.
Yeah, agreed. And Michael, I think that Michael played that perfect sort of central role
Yep.
for kind of like a Tony Soprano-esque character where he's got his family life drama going on. He's also a fucking total madman, crime lord. And yeah, I just thought the characters were really well written. I think that, you look at the gameplay because this 3 years after Red Dead, think about that and
Mm.
how much Rockstar evolved its gameplay in those 3 years. This is definitively at this time was the best playing Rockstar game, and I think you can make an argument it still is the best playing Rockstar game from just a moment to moment movement, shooting, all of that. I would personally say Red Dead 2, but I think it's arguable, and that's crazy to
Yeah.
say over 10 years later. I would go. I would definitely go above Red Dead 1. I don't know if I would
Yeah.
go above RE4. Would you go above RE4? I think I would.
I think I would because we can look. They're both older titles now, so we've seen the impact over a long period of time. And like, man, GTA 5 is a juggernaut. Like, it's still in the top selling every week. Like, that's so unfathomable to think about. Like a game not being moved like that.
Totally. Um,
So yeah,
let's throw it at
and
eight.
then like you said, revolutionizing online as well functionality. Whether or not you value that, like they went and they took the strong aspects of the single player game and just plucked them and put them in a multiplayer, like heists and
I
stuff like that. That was the highlight of the single player, and they've
totally.
somehow managed to pull that off in an online lobby. Like that's crazy.
Well, dude, I have a buddy who role plays in it. And
Yeah.
like that is the only game he plays. And he used to play, he played all of the different multiplayer games, 2K and Rust and all of them, COD. And he found the role playing aspect because he's an online gamer.
Mhm.
Um, and he found the role playing aspect of GTA 5, and he was just like lost from that point
Mhm.
on. Like I can't get him out of that. I can't get him out of that tunnel. But I
Play
definitely.
something else. No, I'm a policeman today.
Well, dude, he showed me clips. They have a organized fighting ring set up where they go in and they just engage in hand-to-hand fist fighting and they play for money. It's
Yep.
like, what the fuck, dude? I guess it's in-game money. I don't think it's real world money, but regardless, I wouldn't put it above GTA San Andreas, would you? I think when you're talking about
Ah,
revolutionary, San Andreas is at the tippy top. If I'm being totally honest with you, when we get into the real discussion debate, I'm gonna be making a case for that to go up even higher.
It gives me pause because you're taking the revolutionary road, and then you're talking like that's the role playing aspect and stuff like that. Like you're in your mind the revolutionary is on the single player side.
Right.
I think that GTA 5 equally did amazing jobs at that. Fell short a little bit, but on the multiplayer side, like we've not seen anything else like it. Like the closest thing I've seen to that kind of role play was Gary's mod on PC, and it seems to just blow that out of the water. So,
You know what
ooh,
we can do? Once again, we're coming back to this. What we can do is this. It's not against
yeah,
the law. We can put them together.
they can go
It
head
feels,
to head. They can
yeah,
go head to head.
feels a little bit wrong, but I feel like we can get to it when we get to it. Dragon Age Inquisition. For me, this would be pretty low on the list. 2014. I know that you're probably a little bit hotter on it than I am. I tried to replay this.
Put the fists out. Let's go.
Once again, I swear to God, I did not plan for this, but I tried to replay Dragon Age Inquisition this year. Put about, I don't know, 7, 8 hours into it, and
And all of them were in the hinterlands, and you never got out of it.
that is exactly why I jumped out. I am so excited for Veilguard. I hate the
Such a
open world.
yeah,
Yeah,
such
the
a
open world
trash
aspect.
opening.
It's just I can't do open world BioWare. Like they they don't have, in my opinion, they just don't have the open world sauce. They don't have the open world gameplay design that really, and I think the best the best somewhat open world they ever created was in Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm gonna hide.
I'm a little bit hotter on it,
Yeah.
but the thing is that I can't deny 'em. I can't like the hinterland. I don't know what they were thinking because it's made such a bad impact on you that you don't think that they can really do open world settings. And the thing is, them follow-up areas have really interesting things to do in them.
Well, I played like 30 hours of it when I played it the first time. Just this time around was when I played 10
Mm,
hours. And they do have better open worlds,
yeah.
shit, but I hate to
It
do this, but
dominates it. That's
if you
the
look at
thing.
the game right next to it, it's like fantasy open world. Uh,
No, you're gonna do it dirty. Ah,
but
I
once
the
again, we should lean positive. If you're more positive than I am, we'll lean with you on this for now, and then we'll
the
debate later.
thing the thing is though is I have to keep in mind like my big argument as to why people should try Inquisition out is because of the final DLC. That DLC wasn't there when it won Game of the Year, so I gotta just be like, okay, man, that's I can't have it go lower than 15 though.
Okay. Oh no, yeah, it can go above Madden too. Yeah, totally. We'll put it. I think we should kind of start doing this right now. Like, let's throw Dragon Age. I think Dragon Age and Uncharted 2, that's an interesting discussion. Like, I think we could probably swap Uncharted 2 for Dragon Age or swap, you know what? I think that could go either way.
Putting it above GTA 4 feels so wrong.
Oh no, the 30 hours that I played of Inquisition were way more impressive than the time I spent finishing. I probably put 30, 40 hours into GTA 4
Mm,
last year. Inquisition's more impressive in my opinion for sure.
yeah.
Do you want to leave it here or do you want to?
Yeah, we'll leave it there for now
Yeah.
because I'm not solidly set in on it.
Yeah, it's tough. We'll get to it when we get to it because I think I could make a case for Uncharted 2 over Inquisition, but I think you could probably make a case for Inquisition over Uncharted 2, and we'll have to hear whose argument is more compelling. Uh The Witcher 3. I would go above everything on this list so far, except for San Andreas personally. And I say that pretty confidently. Like I think that The Witcher 3 is one of the greatest games that has ever released. I think that it's but I will say I don't like I'm not a big Witcher 3 combat guy. I think you might be a little bit hotter on the combat than I am.
Yeah, because I played it on Deathmatch, and it's like a whole different. It's the way I explained it when I was asked about it is that in the books they have this like ice skating scene with Ciri where she fights. I think that's the I'm drawing a blank. It's one of the Wild Hunt generals. She fights him on like a lake that's frozen over. And that's kind of what it feels like when you're playing on Deathmatch, is that it's a dance more so than because a lot of people had problems with it just being like, oh, you just spam X, you spam square and stuff, and triangle every now and then yeah,
It
you have to
felt
put
like
a lot
a
more.
yeah, it felt like a less flowy Arkham.
Mm. It flows a little bit better in Deathmatch. The mechanics that you have to interact with to get everything moving, at least the build that I was using, it felt that way. But this is like this showed us that side quests in games don't have to be dog shit. Like to put it in in the simplest terms, like you're talking about not only were they all really well crafted, but it's one of the first games I think people picked up. And if you had explored certain areas and grabbed that quest item already, and then you found the quest giver, you didn't need to go and do that quest. You could just be like,
Right.
oh, I need you to find this. Oh, what this? Oh my, you have it already? You already cleared that monster? That's crazy.
Everything in the world's already there for you.
Mm,
Like, yeah, it's and not only you say the side quests are so impressive. The whatever like the side quests are also incredibly impressive. Where like you'll have a full story for just a little bounty quest. Like
yeah,
for you go and negotiate your price. That's so damn fun as well. Negotiating the price for the monsters that you're gonna go track down or whatever. And but those will evolve into incredibly in-depth stories that feel like could be any main story for any RPG. Like they're of that level of quality. And you just see that. And I only put like 90, 100 hours into The Witcher 3, something like that. So there's still probably a good 200 hours worth of content that I haven't cleared off everything in that game. There's hundreds of hours, at least another 100 hours that I could put in that game. And I put a
mm,
100 hour, I don't play games like that. I put
mm.
close to 100 hours into this thing and still feel like there's so much left on that plate. And not only do I still feel like there's so much left on that plate, it's all fucking, oh, I'm at the buffet and all this shit's good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the choice as well to where the story goes. Like a lot of people kind of get funneled down to the same ending, but you have that massive fight towards the middle to close end of the game at Kaer and that's you pluck all your the people that you've decided to like actually go out and invest in them side quests with. You can call in favors then, and they will appear and they get their own little, you know, 5 more
Yes.
minutes of fame and stuff like that's amazing. And it does it changes the story and what happens and stuff and how it affects other characters.
Well, and you're talking
So
about like you can go and the leaders of each little different district, if you've helped them out, they'll come and assist you in battle and shit, right?
yeah, you have like Kira Metz is like a perfect example of a character that you do like a little side quest things with her. You do the lamp, and then there's the little island that you help her explore. And then depending on how you decide to resolve the ending of that island quest, she will either help you
Or so,
or 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 something unfortunate happens for
so
her.
I I'll put up a little spoiler tag here. Is that's like the witchish chick that you end up boning, right? Or you can bone, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so and then she also I'm kind of a little bit fuzzy. Doesn't she steal something from you? And
So you go to that
the
tower and
haunted,
yeah, and
yeah.
there's like a formula there, basically. One of a major discovered something, and she turns around and goes because it's such a good story because she's like they're hunting mages right now because they used to be advisors in all of the royal courts, and Letho's gone and offed all the kings. So Radovid is really crazy at the moment. And she's like, if I give this to Radovid, he won't kill me anymore because
Right,
I'm a
right.
big named mage. He's hunting me. If I give him something, I can then use that to gain immunity.
Right.
And Geralt's like, look, man, Radovid is fucking nuts. There's no way, it doesn't matter what you could give him. You could give him every other sorceress, and he will still off you.
And if you
And that is
don't,
what, yeah, and that is what ends up happening, is that
yeah.
if you can't convince her, she goes to Radovid, and Radovid burns her at the stake. And you
It
find her in Novigrad being burned at the stake. And it's just
is
crazy.
is there also a way where that turns into a fight between you and the witch lady?
Um,
I might be blending two stories together, but I feel like I remember I remember hooking up with someone in that game, and then I remember like they did something and it turned into a battle. And I don't
Dijkstra, I think, goes into a fight.
okay. I got, it's been a couple years since I played through it, but I have a couple of those mixed up in my head. I definitely remember the haunted tower and the
Mm.
whole, her whole situation. But I mean, that's the thing. And I'm also now I'm thinking about the torture sequence. That's one of the all-time greatest story moments in the history of video games, in my opinion. You having to sit there as Geralt and hear that, and
Yeah, the Triss is so rough. It's so
dude.
rough.
And you can at any time you can stop it. But you know that y'all had the plan before going into it that like let it go. Let it go. And you're like, "Oh God, this feels like a time where I probably shouldn't continue." Anyways, The Witcher 3, dude, it's now the more we're talking about it, the more I want to push it up.
Mm, mm. That's what I mean. It's got so many of them threads, and it branches so much more well. And it's why it annoys me that some people are like Witcher 3 and Skyrim like so close together because it's
Oh
so many
no.
leagues above it. Like not only does it have the benefit of The Witcher 3 standing alone on its own, the story that it's been building off of from the previous two entries. Because you have a massive payoff with Philippa as well in one of them, which I completely missed in my first time. And she gets a really satisfying one up on over Radovid, and it's so satisfying to see that happen.
All right, so here's the dilemma. I would take San Andreas. I would take San Andreas over The Witcher 3. You would take The Witcher 3 over San Andreas, I'm assuming, right?
Oh, I would.
Let's leave them at 5 and we'll get to it when we get to it. Sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Overwatch. Now, I'm hoping that this is something you're more familiar with than me.
Top two. It is. It's something I dabbled in a little bit. Um, it's not something that particularly appeals to me, but at the same time, it's in the same mindset of Skyrim for me. I can't ignore what it did because you're talking this dominated in
Oh
its year that
God,
kind of,
yeah.
it's the reason it won Game of the Year because it was that kind of thing where it was like PUBG and it took over, it transcended gaming to a point. It's that thing where it sucks in other people to give it as their first gaming experience. And it seemed to really jumpstart competitive gaming again, which had kind of stalled a little bit with like CSGO and Team Fortress 2. But
All right.
it's our list,
That's what
and
I was gonna say. And I think we both like The Walking Dead 1 more than Overwatch, or do you like Overwatch more than The Walking Dead 1?
no, I don't like it more. But then at the back
Let's
of my head, I'm like, it probably should be at 20th, and The
how
Walking
about
Dead should
that?
be at 21st.
How about we put them both at 21 and we get to it when we get to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because they're definitely I would say they're definitely the very, very bottom of the list. Breath of the Wild. So this is the game that forced you to sell your Switch, if I recall. And then Tears of the Kingdom is the game that forced me to sell my Switch. All right, but hold up. Before we dive into that, before we get totally flamed, the reason that I ended up selling my Switch because of Tears of the Kingdom is because while I was playing it, I was like, if I was playing this on my Xbox or my PS5, it'd probably be my game of the year. And because I loved it that much, but I hated the Switch more than I loved Tears of the Kingdom. So
Mhm.
that was the real issue with me. But I also know that Breath of the Wild I never played. It doesn't have the same freedom of Tears of the Kingdom with the puzzle solving and shit. And that was the thing that I was obsessed with in Tears of the Kingdom. So hit me with your thoughts on Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna rely on those here.
So let's be. I'm gonna be respectful here. I probably only put about 3 hours in,
Oh, okay.
so it's not a ton of time. However, it did the cardinal sin for me of having every weapon being made of breadsticks of durability. And it also didn't wow me the fact that it really felt like the exploration was very Ubisofty because they adopted towers and stuff. And that seemed to wow like a huge portion of Nintendo fans. I don't know if that's because they've never left the system, so they've never experienced, Far Cry 3 and stuff like that, which we experienced of it because this was what, 2017
Yeah, we
they
experienced
come
Far Cry
out.
3 in what,
And
2012?
that's yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. So it's kind of that thing of when you get first exposed to something that is a wow factor and then something that gets given it many, many years later, uh, it doesn't make that same impact for me. Um,
Yeah,
and
this
what year was Odyssey as well? Sorry, out of curiosity.
20 that was 2017 as well, if I'm or maybe that was 2018. No, that was 2017. I'm pretty sure.
Because I don't know which one came out first. I don't know if it was Breath of the Wild. It might have been. But like for me, climbing in Odyssey was much more fun than climbing in Breath of the Wild because you've tied it to a stamina bar, which I just don't care for as well. Like these little gripes I have all added up to just being like this. I'm just not enjoying this. Like it's not. If I'm going to play an open world game, I'll go play The Witcher and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Like where everything is firing on all cylinders instead of it just. Yeah, I
right.
think the Switch was the big drawback. I think if they would have tackled this kind of setting and left it for the next Switch, I think they could have done a lot more to draw me in. So,
Well, Loon, I think we're in an interesting spot because once again, this is our list. And I mean, we're not going to get a lot of love for this, but I do think that, and it is what it is though, but I think that we probably put it with these two, wouldn't you say? I mean, I know that's wrong. Like here's the thing is like we both know that's incorrect. But like does that it's still our list. Where
so
we
critic what was critically that is incorrect, but
right.
all that matters is when you have a title in your hands, it's how much you yourself are enjoying it, and that is the
Right.
only thing that matters. Like you can feel guilty that because I'm gonna feel that in when we get to Sekiro. I'm gonna have these same guilt things, and
Right,
it's
right, right.
it's like I can see other people enjoy it for what it is, and those people are screaming to the top of their lungs that it's a masterpiece, and that's the same with Breath of the Wild. But for me, it just doesn't do anything.
So I think we leave it here. And I think that we can maybe, it's not going to be high on our list because it's not for either. I never touched the game. I love Tears of the Kingdom, but I hate the Switch. I don't want to play anything on that system. You don't like the system, and you also didn't like the bit of Breath of the Wild that you played. So we'll leave it there for now, and I think we can adjust it when we go back.
Mhm.
Um, God of War 2018. So this was, I think as important for I think this was as important for God of War as RE4 was for Resident Evil. I don't think that God of War 2018 was as important for the industry's evolution as RE4 was in 2005 though. So I think that I I do I think it plays incredibly well. I think that the one straight shot camera, the no cut perspective that it adopted for the storytelling was impressive at the time. And I think it's still impressive. I, I I'm not the biggest Norse mythology guy. Like
Mm.
that's not something that super appeals to me. Um I I like 2018 God of War more than Ragnarok, but I'm not crazy about either game. I like them both a whole hell of a lot. Finished both of them, enjoyed the shit out of them, but they wouldn't be towards the top of this list for me.
What would be non-negotiable? Like the number that you would not budge of going north of?
Going north of, I
Hmm.
so for me personally, I'd probably put it a I'd put it below Madden 05, 04. And then
Damn.
we can debate GTA 4. But unless you feel differently.
So I picked up a PS4. When did Uncharted 4 release?
2016.
That would have been the year that I picked it up. It was about 6 months in from that release because I had been constantly left wanting from Xbox's side from a story perspective. Like they got some good few hits that people don't give enough credit for. Like I enjoyed Rise, Son of Rome. I enjoyed Quantum
S-
Break.
Sunset Overdrive. They started off Xbox One pretty well and then just fell apart.
Yeah. The, I think that's probably why it holds a lot more of a stronger place in my heart. God of War 2018. Because when I was playing through it, I was like, holy shit, this is a masterpiece.
Y- I don't disagree with you. And I think also, what they did in terms of, okay, the player base who played God of War in 2005 when they were 16, 17, they're now in their 30s, you know, like, or close to 30s. Like, they evolved with the player base, which I think having your thumb on the pulse of your target demographic is really fucking important, and that shouldn't be understated. And they did that perfectly. They captured the exact right time, the exact right tone for the people who were playing the game and at the age that they were at whenever they jumped into 2018 opposed to the 2005 game.
I don't think I could put it below 13, personally.
Okay. Well, how about we throw it right there with Skyrim and then we get to it. Like as we're doing with all these. I mean,
Indecisiveness.
but we're at that point of the list for sure where it's like we if we just move everything around right now, we're gonna make a bunch of
Yeah.
errors. So I think we just do it deliberately when we get to it. Sekiro 2019. So before you jump into it, I'll go ahead and save you. It's not a get good thing for you. It's a get good thing for me because you've played and finished a lot of the Souls games out there, and we'll talk
All of
about
them.
one. You've finished every other one.
Every single FromSoft Souls-like, bar
Okay.
this, it has been finished, and most have been 100%.
Damn. So yeah, you got you got the sauce when it comes to the Souls games. I do not. You throw me a Sifu in here, a quicker, faster moving action game that's really hard, we can talk all day about it. But which actually Sekiro, that might be the one Souls game that I would actually get into because supposedly it's super fast and it doesn't have a stamina meter, does it?
It doesn't have a stamina meter, it has something different. It's got a posture meter. So every time you block, it builds up a bar, and then if that overfills, then they can punish you with like an attack that leaves you fully open. But you
Okay.
also have you're doing that to them. So that's basically the combat back and forth.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I might end up. I probably won't, to be honest. I'm at the point in my life where I gotta avoid my damn blood pressure rising at all costs. But Sekiro, man, hit me, Loon. Hit me with your thoughts. I'm relying on you for this one. I'm not the Souls guy.
So for me, um, it's not something that I gave it so many chances, like three, four, five times trying to get into it. And each time that I got further in each time, but just found I wasn't enjoying it. And the realization I came to is that the big thing that I enjoy from Souls likes is the loot aspect. Clearing an area, overcoming a really difficult enemy, and then getting a cool weapon as a reward. And that's really, really what I value. And then on top of that, when I hit a brick wall in a Souls like, I can always just pivot into a completely different build. Whereas in Sekiro, it's you learn the combat or you don't progress
Mhm.
for a lot of it. And that's probably why if I was to hand you Sekiro, you probably would make it further than me. crazily enough, because a lot of people fell into the trap of trying to play it as a Souls-like, and you can't. If you go in
Mm.
trying to play it as a Souls-like, it punishes you and punishes you and punishes you. You need to go in more in the line of like a Devil May Cry and
Oh,
stuff like
geez.
that.
Okay.
So it's you learn its systems. You can't implement any like when you're playing Devil May Cry, you're not implementing any other combat system. It's its own separate thing that you're learning to master and stuff like that. And that's what Sekiro feels like.
Damn,
So
making me want to play it.
it is a masterpiece, and that's what I mean. Like I can happily sit there and be like, it's not for me, but it is an incredible game. And the boss fights are very, very cinematic, especially the final few.
What?
So, ooh,
So here's the tough thing. You probably, from what I'm hearing, you would probably rank it above GTA 4, I'm assuming. But
yeah.
but would you rank it above Inquisition?
See, this is the thing of like trying to like, are we voting entirely with our hearts or our heads, or
I
going in the
I th-
middle?
I think with any sort of this style of stuff, it's always however you're feeling in the moment when you put it up there. I tend to lean heart. Some people might lean head. Like I think it's individual, however the individual person feels when they're doing a ranking.
17.
Ooh, okay. I like it. Decisive. Get one on the board without having a without having 13 stack
Because
up.
I'm thinking of it, and this is the thing. Like, I will happily like people can call me out. That is that is wrong, and I know that's wrong. Putting it that low and below these other titles, but when it's for me playing it, I enjoy GTA 4 more.
Right.
So yeah,
So you're saying it's the thing where you'd probably say Sekiro's a better game than GTA 4, but you
yeah,
enjoy
Sekiro's
GTA.
when you if you just scroll up a bit, like yeah, it's better combat than Oblivion, better combat than Skyrim. It's more appealing combat than God of War. Like it has so many things that it does better than them other things. But for me, trying to take it from an enjoyment standpoint, I enjoyed all these titles more. Even Skyrim, I enjoyed
Yeah.
more,
So you're
which
saying
shows you how much. Because I don't defend Skyrim all that often, and I enjoyed Skyrim more.
you're saying objectively it's probably somewhere in that top 10,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, all the praise in the world. Tlu 2. I think that this is a weird one as well when you talk about objectivity versus subjectivity, because I think objectively you're looking at some of the tightest, just most fluid, well-controlled combat that you've ever seen in a video game. And not only the shooting, which is incredible, going prone, laying on your back, which, man, I've been doing that shit in Call of Duty, Black Ops 6 and that campaign. God, dog, I love that damn campaign. Anyways, but as a third-person shooter, not something you see often.
no.
Um, and man, it controls so well. And being able to go up under cars and hide for a second. The enemy comes and looks at you, blast them in the head. Like there's just some shit in this game that is ultra immersive. The swan song of the PlayStation 4, probably the best looking game on that console. It's arguable that and Ghost of Tsushima, which was also a 2020 title that I think could be maybe should be the game we're talking about here. But the story in The Last of Us 2 just didn't land with me. I think it's some of the worst pacing I've ever seen in a AAA video game. I think it should have ended 4 times before it ended. And by the end of it, I just hated every single character in that world. And I understand that's what they're going for, but I just couldn't connect with anything that was going on in The Last of Us 2 by the end of it. Whereas with the original, you might disagree with some of the characters and their direction, but you could at least see where they were coming from, and it made for at very least interesting conversation where you and I can sit here and debate. Is Joel a good guy? Is Joel a bad guy? We can just debate the circumstance of that game and how it left off. And The Last of Us 2, I was like, yo, it's a fucking apocalypse outside. Put y'all's weird ass daddy issues to the side and figure out how to survive. Like, what are we doing here? This just on the list of on our to-do list for today, going on a vendetta quest just seems so fucking low. whenever you look outside and it's a hellscape.
Yeah, it's not even that either. Like, it would be different if they went on that, then, like, everybody knows, like, the opening sequence as to what happens. If that was resolved and then you moved the story forward from, but it fixates on that
Yes.
because then it goes back to it and it shows this pendulum. So Abby, Ellie, Abby, uh, and it's not, they don't grow really because even when the thing gets resolved, it doesn't feel like it's been resolved. I could see them doing a Last of Us 3 and then going back to this story plot point.
Right, right.
Is
Because
what
it
it feels
never
like it's gonna, yeah, is what it
totally
feels like it's gonna happen. It's just, oh, we're both exhausted at the end of the game. We'll take a breather and then we'll do this again. Like this,
right.
like, that could be what happens. And if that is, it's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate.
Well, and it's like, what do you go back to these characters at all? Like, who the fuck has any investment left in these characters? I feel like you depleted me of any sort of possible give a shit that I could have for Ellie or Abby at this point. So,
Because
um,
they fixated on you hating the characters. They gave you the worst side of each of them. So there was no redeeming, like, at least with Joel in that first game, he he was cold in the beginning, but they showed you why he was cold, and then he warmed up. And he warmed up to the point where he made what either is a heart decision or a lot of people think is irrational. Like,
well, and
you
even that
can't.
just
Sorry,
even
go.
no, my bad, I cut you off. But even that decision, Loon, like we can't monitor that with modern day lens where
Mm.
we go, oh yeah, well I wouldn't. We'll throw in spoilers again. Fuck it, I'll timestamp this shit. What? Where? No, I wouldn't go in and kill a doctor if my daughter was being operated on because I trust the doctors who have modern medicine and technology and the things that we have today in 2024 versus if we were in a post-apocalyptic setting and she's in some basement somewhere being operated on doctor who knows what the fuck. Like, no, I don't trust this doctor. I don't even do you go to school in the apocalypse to become it? Like, I know that that was before, and obviously he was a doctor pre-apocalypse, but it's like we can't trust fucking doctors in an apocalypse like we can in modern society, and you still can't trust a lot of doctors in modern society. So it's to look at Joel as like this totally irrational thing that he did. I'm just like, how the hell do people look at that as like totally irrational? I can understand if someone says that's the wrong decision. Sure, we can discuss that. But totally irrational is like, what?
Mm.
But in this situation, it just seems like so far gone. Where it's like, what are y'all doing, man? Like, oh, I love my dad too, but if we're in a post-apocalypse and you
I'm
take
more worried about my can of beans tomorrow morning
right, people are
than traveling
dying.
cross country. Like, yeah.
People are dying every minute in a fucking post-apocalyptic world. I'm not going out on some vendetta quest and yeah. Anyways, it's still a great video game. Plays incredibly, incredibly well. Where are you thinking?
I'm either gonna lowball this and you're gonna be like, what? I think Sekiro moves down one because I think that's perfect because them three at the bottom, they will be our bottom. I don't see any of the other ones thingy, and then that goes, yep, 17.
Oh yeah, well hell yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Definitely fine with that. I wouldn't put it above GTA 4. Definitely not.
Because yeah, this is also what people need to remember. This is a continuation of a series, so they're in their mind they will be making a third game of this.
Yeah.
Oh, and you said it perfectly. Who are you going to make it with? I want her story. I don't want the other one's story. I want anyone's story in
Yeah,
this game.
we ain't got a Joel story left to tell, so yeah. I think
Ugh.
you could just go to new characters and have Ellie pop in, play as Ellie for a little bit, see the evolution of the story, but you might just have to move on at this point. They left that series in a weird spot, man. Um It Takes Two, 2021. Weird one, really weird one because I didn't finish It Takes Two. I So it's actually a weird, like very specific memory I have in my head. It Takes Two, I don't know if now it has a PS5 physical copy, but at the time it didn't. It only came, it had a PS4 copy. And this was, a year into the PS5 life cycle, which was, I thought that was weird. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
fine. I wanted to buy it. So I went to GameStop and bought it. And so I bought a PS4 physical copy. And I go to my buddy's house and he didn't have a PS5 yet. And so I was like, hey, dude, I actually just bought this game that didn't have a PS5 physical copy. We can play it on your, which, you could play you could play a PS4 disc on a PS5 if you would have. Regardless, I was like, this kind of works out. I'm going to take this PS4 disc. We'll play it on your PS4 console, since you haven't upgraded yet, and it's a nice co-op experience. Let's dive into it, try to finish it. We played about 3-4 hours of it, and we were like, when I left that night, I was like, dude, I can give you the code and we can play because it takes two comes with a code where the second person doesn't
The
actually
Buddy
have to buy the
Pass.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a cool feature. Of course, I leave that night. Oh, we never play the rest of the game. So, it's tough for me to like, but the inventive nature of the level design of It Takes Two, everything we saw was like brand new and it had some brand new mechanic for some brand new level where you're doing some brand new thing. It was just like just hitting you over the head with new and new mechanic, new way to traverse. Like so inventive.
Yep.
Did you ever finish It Takes Two?
I didn't. My co-op
Okay.
partner also dropped out.
That's the
And
struggle
that's
with
the
these
thing.
games.
It's I think that was the difference between this and A Way Out. A Way Out was shorter, so you could finish it in one sitting. I can't remember the actual time frame, but I know that me and a friend beat A Way Out in one night. Whereas It Takes Two, we did it over the course of like 2 or 3 nights and we still didn't finish it.
Yeah, it's
So, but it introduces new things, like you said, constantly, and it overhauls its gameplay, and it's definitely something special. And it's great that a title like that actually won Game of the Year because it shows then moving forward that it doesn't always have to be AAA. It doesn't always have to be the biggest budgets. It doesn't have to be this. You don't have to have the big market heads behind it. Like, yeah, it was published by EA original, I believe, but it still had a smidge of the budget of most of the other games it was up against that year.
I don't know. I'd put it above GTA 4. I don't know if I'd put it above Madden 04. Would you be comfortable putting it above GTA 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
it did so much more for um I'm drawing on platformers for
Yeah.
platformers like moving forward than GTA 4 did for stuff. So yeah.
Well, Loon, we're at the point in the list where I got to rely on you, my friend. 2022 Elden Ring and then 2023 Baldur's Gate. I put about 10 hours into Baldur's Gate, but don't have enough to really say about it. And I have nothing to say about Elden Ring. So take it away, my friend. Elden Ring, where should it go?
It is in so many ways a love it and hate it relationship, even for me, because it's the perfection of Souls combat as we know it. However, you've placed it into an open world game, and that's great because they did it really well. Like, there's no denying that. But by doing it the way that they did as well, a lot of what made Dark Souls 1, 2, 3 so special is that they were like you'd get these like dungeons and stuff that you would find in Elden Ring and stuff, and it felt a little bit disjointed at times. Whereas when you have the beauty of something that comes to mind in Dark Souls 1 is you beat that first boss, and then you land at Filing Shrine. Everything that you look around you, you visit. And not only do you visit, it all warps round in on itself. And that's the design. Like, you walk in that direction, somehow you make it back to Filing Shrine. You walk in that direction, and it's just beautifully crafted. Whereas Elden Ring, doesn't do that as much. It's much more leaning into that open world aspect, but it is a masterpiece. And what slots do we have open at the top?
So,
What is?
yeah, let's not worry about what's open so much because the lot's open. It can go, but yeah, anywhere. You tell me where to place it. I'm totally relying on you on this.
Uh,
Let me ask you a question before you jump in. The Witcher 3, would you put it above or below The Witcher 3?
yeah, I would put it above The Witcher 3 because you're talking what The Witcher 3 did, all them sales numbers Elden Ring did. Like for what it's doing, it's breaking out into people. Like for something so niche to hit that number, that's inconceivable.
Well, I mean, if you would
Like
put it above The Witcher 3, I feel like we at least got to put it towards,
it's got to be top five.
yeah, somewhere in that. Let's just right here. Once again. I mean, I know that this is the this is the stack up, the number five stack ups here, but I think we can these are all games that we can have a real discussion about here in a second.
Oh well,
Um,
no, we got that fifth one, and we're gonna just fast track it. And I think Baldur's Gate is in the top five as well.
okay, okay.
I'm gonna rip that band-aid off. I know it didn't gel with you as much.
But that's the thing. It's like Madden 04, it's not your style of game. So like that's why I think, and that's the thing with you and I in general, we have such a because we pretty much cover everything. You know what I mean? Like if it's you and I on a video discussing games, there's usually not a single genre that's left out. There might be a genre I don't play that you don't play, or a genre that I don't play that you do play, a genre you don't play that I do play. Like we can cover pretty much everything. Um, so Baldur's Gate 3. I want you to really take this away because I know you had a really weird roller coaster with BG3.
So it's not so much with BG3, it's how I consume CRPGs. This is just something that I struggle with, is that when something is so expansive and you give me so much choice and so many classes, I never ever, and this still hasn't happened, and I don't think it ever will happen. When I first boot into new game and begin that story, that's not going to be the character that I finish it with.
Right.
Because I get, especially with Baldur's Gate 3 and the way Larian crafts their acts, I beat Act 1 like three, four times. Like you're talking 10, 15 hours of like content that you can just devour there. And the beauty of it is that each of them playthroughs resulted in something different. Finding something that you did, and you think that's crazy because I'm so meticulous and going and combing through everything, but you make one different dialogue choice, or you go to somewhere first instead of going here first, and you end up bumping into somebody else and experiencing something else in a different manner. And that's something that they really have mastered.
Yeah, just the way that like you can come to different solutions with environmental puzzle solving as well. Of like, how do I get this door open? How do I break through this little like even in just my quick 10 hours of play, I was like, oh my God, they thought of this, they thought of that. Like it seems like they left no stone unturned. Um, yeah, man, it's very impressive. Lone. I'll let you if you have anything else you wanna throw some more praise at BG3, you can. Um,
The cutscenes, like we need to talk about that.
yes,
Like
yes,
you're
yes.
talking, I love, love Obsidian, okay, as RPG creators, and they were on to something with Wasteland 3 because they flirted with it. They didn't execute it in the way that Larian executed on it. Larian looked over their shoulder and was like, "That is so damn good, but we can build off of that. That is such a good idea, and so because it makes you care about the character so much more. Because I can understand people who don't want to play a CRPG and you just see a picture of the character's face and you're reading the text. That can be a story that is harder to resonate with and for you to care about the character. Doesn't matter how good their voice acting is. To you,
Yeah,
you're seeing a tiny pixel that big and a picture of a face that doesn't move.
totally.
Whereas ripping you in and positioning the camera to show you that person in real time and doing something and moving and there's motion and there's a not just motion of the character, there's motion capture in the face.
There is
Like
motion
the
capture, like legit motion capture.
it's and that's in a CRPG. That's again
Hundreds of hours of cutscenes.
baffling, absolutely baffling.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, that's why like I didn't hesitate for a second when he was like, "Do you even put it near The Witcher 3?" Like, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, Loon, we are in a tough spot right now. You know what? You want to work our way? Well, okay, so I think that this is where we begin to talk it out, figure out how we want to tackle this because I think the easy part is done. Now we get to the real challenge. Ranking these motherfuckers is going to be difficult. It might not, it probably won't take as long because once we get flowing, I think we'll get flowing, but we
It's
have
like a
some,
domino effect. Once things
yeah,
start moving up and then spaces become available. I think we
yeah,
rank the bottom three first. Just get
okay,
that out of the way because they're not moving anywhere. Nothing's moving below that.
yeah. And I apologize for my screen. I don't know what's going on, why my screen's lagging a little bit lately, but um, okay, bottom three. I would be comfortable with Overwatch being at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. And then I would be comfortable with Breath of the Wild being right above that. Or would you
Yeah,
would
you could argue either way, but I'm not invested enough in Zelda to care and try and battle its thing out.
fair
So yeah,
because I would say I'm invested enough in The Walking Dead to want it higher because I fucking loved those characters. And that's once again I wasn't taking shots at the game earlier. There is just it is what it is. There's not the mechanical variety, mechanical complexity that there is with a lot of these other games, and you have to throw that into the factor into the equation. It has to matter somewhat. Okay, so I think we're good here. Is there anything GTA 4, Last of Us 2, Sekiro? Is there anything you would want to change there?
no, I think that's fun.
Okay. All right. Now here's where we come to issues. I would personally probably put It Takes Two over Madden 04. You cool with that?
Yeah, I would consider because I didn't finish it. Takes two, so I think it's fair that yeah.
Okay. And then we go Uncharted to Dragon Age Inquisition, the battle here. Now, I would personally go Uncharted 2, obviously. I think you would probably go Dragon Age Inquisition. I will tell you why I think that Uncharted 2 should be above Inquisition. I don't think at the time when Uncharted 2 came out, I don't think you could point to any other action adventure game that was doing what Uncharted 2 did better. Whereas I think when you look at The Witcher 3 that came out just a year before, or I mean a year after Dragon Age Inquisition, in that exact same genre, it does almost every single thing better than Dragon Age Inquisition. Whereas, like, but if you can think of something for third person action adventure games from 2009 or anywhere in that range, even a year later, that does what Uncharted does, but better, then
No, I think I have to concede that.
okay. I appreciate it, Load.
And it
Uh,
is the major thing is like the hinterlands, man. Whenever I try and like mount an argument, it's like I have to try and convince you to dedicate 10 hours to one of the most dull zones in any game. Like that's just not fair.
yeah. Yeah, it's I'm gonna go ahead and move these up just for this isn't permanent whatsoever, but just to make room to slot. Fuck it. We'll get to that
I
in a
mean, we
second.
can we can fast track it. I think Resi 4 is 6.
You think it's six?
I
Well,
think
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
barely
yeah.
scrapes out of it.
Well, actually, I don't know because we'll pause. We'll pause on that. We'll pause on that. We'll get to it.
Ooh.
We'll get to it. I think that's tough because we're right here where we're at now. I think is a good spot. God of War and Skyrim. You would go God of War,
Yep.
and I would go Skyrim. However, I I think the same thing can be argued in your favor this time. In 2018, third person action adventure game, was there a third person action adventure melee game that was better than God of War? Probably not. Whereas in 2000 and
I can
uh
name one immediately if you
yeah,
want. Dragon's Dogma.
right. Well, and if you want to kind of scale that back, you already had the Mass Effect games as well. That in terms of narrative, it's not as wide and open, but you had Fallout New Vegas, you had
Yep.
Fallout 3. Like I
I was
don't
just thinking within that same month of release,
right,
like the Dragon's Dogma got slept on and Skyrim somehow edged it.
totally. So yeah, bump God of War up a slot, uh, keep Skyrim right there. And then we go. Is there anything you would want to change to your Bioshock, Oblivion, Red Dead? Is that the correct order you think?
Yeah, I think they could all move up. I think
Okay.
that's solid.
All right. Uh, we'll tackle that. Actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and do the part where we get these placed. That way we don't have to um okay, what if I fucked? Okay, there we go. Yep, my bad. Fucking shit up over here, Loon. So we're gonna I think that this next part actually might not be as hard as we're assuming. Um because this is the five. So right now, as it stands, we have our 6 through 21 all sorted out. As you see on screen, I'll do a slow scroll so everybody at home can see the games that we currently have placed in 6 through 21. And now we got to sort out the top five. And oh fuck. Now
I'm gonna throw you a question. Are you hoping Resi 4 can muscle its way into the top five? Is that what?
yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then I'll throw you another one. Do you think Red Dead can be
Yes.
muscled in? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yes. That's the tough part. That's the tough part. But you know what I say we do right now? GTA San Andreas versus five. We were stuck on that earlier. You were going five, or you were kind of leaning five. I was strongly leaning San Andreas. You made a good argument for the things that I praised San Andreas for can be argued that online does that in a similar capacity in terms of the innovative factor. I agree with that. Um,
Are we, before we pursue that, are we viewing it in its release year though? In its release state, because it didn't
that's a
launch
really
online.
good point.
Because if I'm going to use that as an argument, I need to be like, well, you need to give me leeway, because then that becomes a snowball effect of, does that mean The Witcher 3 starts getting the edge because of Hearts of Stone releasing and then Blood and Wine releasing a little bit later, and Elden
Or
Ring with Shadows of the Erd Tree,
archery.
and like, are we
Yeah,
talking just 1.0 release?
that's a damn good point, dude. I Yeah, because I mean, and then you got Skyrim. That's a problem for Skyrim, dude. Base Skyrim, 2012 Skyrim, does that drop down? I mean, probably not. Probably not, right? Like, I think that you could maybe swap Uncharted 2 for Skyrim, but I don't, or I don't think so. I
We'll
think
leave
that
with it strong with the strongest performance from the system, and it didn't. It had problems on PS3 Skyrim a lot more than it did on 360.
360,
So
right?
I think we'll go with freeze, and I think it stays there just fine.
Yeah, yeah. I I don't think we factor in DLC for Erdtree or
Hmm.
Blood and Wine. I think we don't even think about DLC. The
Okay,
online thing for GTA 5 is the real challenge because
let
I
me look it
feel
up to see if it was more than a year after release, then it can be discarded personally, because it's not within its year. If we're talking game of the year and it didn't receive that content in the year, then that's
yeah.
meaningless.
Okay.
When
Okay.
did GTA?
But Loon, I really hate to do this, man. If we're doing that, then I gotta really re-examine what I said about RE4. if we're doing
Oh,
year of release. Because in retrospect, do I appreciate RE4 the same way that I did in 2005 or when I played it in 2006? Like, God, no. The impact that Resident Evil 4 had in 2005 can be argued as more impactful than every single other game on this list. Like it changed perspective in game. Like I don't mean changed our perspective. It changed character perspective. Like it changed the way that games controlled forever from that point on. I mean that but if we're looking at totality, now with the remake, I would rather play the remake every day, all day, twice on Sunday than go back to the original. So it lessens the impact of the original. But if we're factoring in just the year of release, then dude, I would bump Resident Evil 4 up into that five into that range with the other games at five.
if Google's to be believed, it was the 17th of September it launched the game, and then the 1st of October of that same year, GTA Online launched. So it wasn't
Okay.
that long of a wait.
So I think that I would still go San Andreas, but I think that you make a compelling point that the online was probably more innovative than anything that was in San Andreas, even if you don't necessarily like it. Like I was talking about, I have a buddy who is just totally immersed in that world, won't play anything else because of how addictive that online is. That has to factor
San
in.
Andreas steps up.
You think?
Yeah,
What's your
because it's our
reasoning?
list. It's our list for enjoyment.
Oh, so
And
you don't enjoy GTA 5 more than San Andreas?
no,
Oh, what the fuck are we even talking about? Absolutely, yeah. San Andreas goes up, no doubt.
I'm 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 playing devil's advocate because I enjoy both very, very much. And I
Right.
know how important the online is, but for me, the online lost its allure real damn quick.
Okay.
Like I didn't even like I dipped into the heists for like a week and was like, ugh. So yeah, San
Would you
Andreas easy.
would you go Witcher 3 above San Andreas?
For me personally,
Fuck. Okay.
yeah.
So,
But that's because it has that importance of not only being a beloved IP of mine. Dude, I don't think you quite understand how much Gwent is important to me.
yeah.
Like you're talking about that was the first time when that became a standalone game. That was the first time in my entire life I saw what it meant to like have the appeal of going onto Twitch and interacting with a community online. Like almost everybody knew each other.
Yeah.
Like that was a tight-knit community. So
I I think the fact that we both love The Witcher 3 so much puts it above San Andreas. We both love San Andreas as well, but The Witcher 3 being like literally one of your favorite games of all time and literally being one of my favorite games of all time. And say I don't think San Andreas is that like top 10 for you all time?
oh no.
Because I think The Witcher 3 is in both of our all-time top 10.
Yep.
Like that's powerful.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so we'll put that above. And now we get to Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate. And you said you would personally put Elden Ring above The Witcher. Or would you put The Witcher 3 above Elden Ring?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
It comes down to the thing where story it's not even comparable, but the combat, you would say you like Elden Ring's combat quite a bit more than The Witcher's.
Uh, Elden Ring fourth for now.
Fourth?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's do this. Let's throw The Witcher. I'm not saying it has to stick there. So are you saying Elden Ring below San Andreas?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you three. Elden Ring above San Andreas. I
No, because I flip-flop like from a point to point enjoyment scale. That's the reason why San Andreas doesn't reach the top 10 because so many other titles have come out since then. Like I hold a special place in San Andreas in my heart. But when I think of like what is the most enjoyment from start to finish, and I think of like control and stuff like that. And that's like the list is filled with that. and that's why it gets pushed out. Whereas with Elden Ring, I have a lot of ways that I would be able to sit there and critique it, the stuff. So I think, whereas San Andreas, for its time, I don't think you could critique it for anything.
Bro, I just thought of an idea. We put our game of the year from 2003, our personal game of the year from 2003 up to 2023. Like I put my game of the year 2003, you put your game of the year 2003. So two games for each year, and we do this exact same thing.
Yeah,
You down?
absolutely, yeah.
That will be
Because
hell on earth.
I'll annoy even more people happily.
Holy shit, that is going to be a titan of a video. Okay, anyways, back to what we were saying. I think you Baldur's Gate or Elden Ring for you. Because once again, we're this is and
Baldur's
also,
Gate.
oh, Baldur's Gate.
I don't even need to think about that. Like it's that thing where I take that step back. I enjoy both immensely, but I can't think of anything Larian could have really done other than like removing the level cap kind of annoyed me a little bit. And then having the final act be a little bit lacking in comparison to the opening act. Again, Elden Ring has so many more things where I would have preferred them to do things differently.
So I hate to keep bringing Resident Evil 4 up. How do you feel about Resident Evil 4?
Um,
Top 10 all time?
no.
Okay. Okay.
And but are we talking? This is the thing though, because this is me saying that because I didn't like the original for how stiff it felt. I never
Right.
finished the original. I finished the remake.
Oh, okay.
It's only just been this year where I went and did Silent Hill 2
Okay.
and stuff
Wait,
like
wait,
that.
wait, wait, wait. All right. So we got to backtrack a little bit. I think Resident Evil 4 might need to go down then. But and Red Dead move up. Because Red Dead's you've talked about Red Dead being one of your favorite stories ever, right? The first Red Dead. And you finished that, loved that.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is that if I'm looking at through the remake though, which is what is heavily
I don't think we
foundationed
can
off of.
though. Because wouldn't that be like the remake should have beat Baldur's Gate 3 in 2023 and we'd be talking about both of them. And then we could have that full conversation debating which one should go where. And then I think at that point, that would add to the factor of Resident Evil 4 even going down the list a little bit more if we had the remake here because we'd be comparing the two.
Mm,
I think Red Dead goes up above RE4 OG. We both love Red Dead.
okay. I was more conceding for the fact of its importance to gaming as well. Well, I
No
was a little
doubt.
bit reluctant to move it.
Well, RE4 before
But Red Dead also had its own impact as well. It's not like it's being replaced by something that skated by and
well,
just coasted.
you can make an argument that Red Dead created not created, but Red Dead was was Red Dead the first successful Western video game? Like not Western in terms of developed, in the West, but like
Yeah, like a
as a
cowboy
Western, as the
western.
genre.
Hitting them numbers, yeah, absolutely. There's no denying that.
Yeah. And I
It
mean,
showed that it wasn't something where people. It showed that it's something that you can take a crack at and get success out of it. It's not, oh, well, that's just a little weird. Like, without Red Dead, I don't think we'd have like Evil West and stuff
and
like that.
Weird
These others,
West.
yeah, and these weird
Yeah.
spin-offs of Western titles. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's an important factor. It kind of created. It's not a genre that it created, but it created an impact in a genre that was pretty much unoccupied, other than Red Dead Revolver and shit like that. But that you know what I mean. That
Gun. Woo.
right. Um. Okay. So you would go Baldur's Gate 3 above Elden Ring? Would you go above San Andreas? So I think here's the thing. I think the fact that I jumped out of Baldur's Gate 3, I'm not saying it hurts it massively because it's not my genre and CRPGs are a genre that you love. But I think the fact that both of us finished San Andreas, absolutely love it, and appreciate the fact that it's never been done. What was done in San Andreas has never been done in another game, not even just in Grand Theft Auto, but never been done in another open world action game ever, action adventure game ever. Like those sim stats, even in a Baldur's Gate 3, it's not attempting to do that, but you're not, those characters aren't morphing in real time based on the actions that you do in the game. Like, of course, there's no gym and fast food restaurant, so it's kind of hard to make that comparison. But like, you can literally go and morph your character physically and actually see the change based on what you are doing in real time. It is fucking unbelievable that this happened on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, then I counter with
Hey, that's what we're here
taking
for.
this back. Um, you don't have it where, you're eating and it's changing, but you do. You have character development where things do change, like Shadowheart having a massive sweeping change. And then you're talking about having the ability to choose who lives and dies,
Okay,
and the story still going on regardless of that and
but
getting to an ending.
but wouldn't you argue that that's been done before as well? That's the only thing I'm throwing out with San Andreas is that it had never been done before and it has never been done after. What was taking place with those sim elements? And if there's something that you can think of that because I could be wrong, there could be another game out there that has done it, but I cannot remember, at least in terms of this genre, an open world action adventure game, any game that's not a sim specific game where you can literally craft your character in real time based on the actions that you're performing and see your character physically change. That is crazy.
Mm. All right, I'll give you that.
I, so here's what I will to counter my own point. What I will say is I think the counter to my point would be that there's never been another CRPG with this level of cutscene detail and motion capture and shit. And there probably were, it's maybe a little too early to tell, but there probably never will be again unless it's Larian doing it. But to counter my point
Uh,
back, you could, because even Rockstar, the people who implemented in these sim elements and stats, they couldn't even do that with their following games. So like Larian, they'll probably be able to do this again with the motion capture and the
yeah,
cutscenes and shit. And Rockstar was like, we're not fucking attempting that shit again.
that's why it's so dear to me is that you have GTA that set that standard, that bar, and many of them elements they never pulled themselves up that bar again to
Yeah,
make that next bar.
they could never even reach it again. It's crazy.
Whereas Larian has shown they haven't had a release where they've not stepped up. So this is why it's so damn important. Whatever they decide to do next, this is their rockstar moment. This will solidify them. They're either going to fall flat on their face and stumble big time, or it's going to be like, I can't believe that they took another step. Like how it's in, because to me, it's inconceivable that they did what they did in Baldur's Gate 3. If you would have told me in 2016 that that's a CRPG, you showed me like the cutscene thing where it's like, I'll be like, you're out. No, that's not. That's like a hybrid. That's you're talking like a spiritual successor to like Dragon Age or something, like
Right.
something like that. Like there's no way that's like a turn-based, fully turn-based, traditional CRPG.
Yeah.
No, that's a lie. So
This is fucking tough, man. Because I think that you can make arguments that Baldur's Gate 3 is obviously more impressive than San Andreas. Of course, we're not even talking tech in terms of the hardware limitations and shit, because that's not a fair comparison. But I think even with what Baldur's Gate 3 did for the CRPG genre, it might be more impressive than what San Andreas did for the open world action adventure genre as a whole. because I'm so zoned in and focused on those key elements of the sim stats. But there are other elements of San Andreas that, if we're being honest, in 2004, there you had games that had better shooting already. You had games that had, well, I was gonna say better driving. You probably didn't have games that had better driving in an open world game. I could be wrong on that, but I think it probably was the best driving in an open world game. Um, but shooting for sure, movement for sure. Although San Andreas was the first time you could climb fences, and there was the stealth was introduced for the first time ever in a Grand Theft Auto game in San Andreas. Stealth might have been introduced for the first time ever in an open world game in San Andreas. But see, that's the thing where I can't even throw that out there. That's not fair because I don't know if that's true. I don't even know if that's true. I'm just fucking trying to make my point here. I'm lying to win, lie, cheat, and steal.
Ah,
Actually, I don't think it was the
I
first open world
think
stealth game.
I think I will still end up reluctantly conceding because, and the thing I'm going to put the nail in the coffin in is Rockstar are still on that upward trajectory. Like every time they drop something, it rocks the world. This is new to Larian. Divinity
Fuck.
2, Divinity 1 didn't rock the world.
I feel like you almost made a point there in the opposite way of where you were trying to make your point, where you swayed my opinion differently because what you just said makes me think about Baldur's Gate 3 as a totally different level of success. Where Rockstar, when they released San Andreas, it's like, yeah, that's what we expect. You just put
No,
out
yeah,
two of the best-selling games ever. With Baldur's Gate 3, that came out of fucking nowhere. And that was Baldur's Gate 3 is GTA 3. It could be, and it could be that we end up evolving into a Vice City and a San Andreas, where 2 games from now, that's really where we see Larian
it's
create
why
just,
it's why I hold them so dear because to me that already is the San Andreas. Because I've seen them do Divinity Original Sin, which kickstarted like Pillars I hold dear to my heart, but that isn't saving CRPGs. Divinity did. Divinity showed that you can make something and have it appeal to a lot more people, and then Divinity 2 blew up even more. And that's what I mean when I'm envisioning it and I'm saying like I didn't think that they would ever burst out of that bubble. Like they already expanded the bubble way more than they had any right to with Divinity 2.
yeah.
And now you're talking like the Baldur's Gate dominating not only the entire genre, reaching out of that genre into gaming, and then reaching out of gaming, like that's the massive snowball effect.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by the GTA 3 effect, where it's like that Baldur's Gate 3, like, just as GTA, I think GTA 3 was the best-selling game in 2001. Baldur's Gate 3 is probably top 5 of 2023 in a stacked year with fucking Hogwarts and Tears of the Kingdom and
In a much
oh,
more competitive market now.
yeah.
You think of the numbers and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and in a genre that has never seen even close to now that what the fuck? I can't make that argument. I was gonna say, well, GTA created its own genre, but that's GTA 3. The fucking San Andreas just is an iteration of that. Bingo. Baldur's Gate 3 is number 2. I didn't think of that. GTA San Andreas is iterative of 3
Mhm.
and Vice City, whereas Baldur's Gate 3 is iterative of nothing.
To a degree, yeah. To a degree.
Do you
It's
think
for most people it's their first CRPG. And that's the big thing of why it blew people's socks off as GTA 3 being their first open world crime sandbox.
Okay, well, hold up now. So we might have to work back. Do you
Oh my
think that
God.
do you think so is because I never played Divinity. Is Baldur's Gate 3 is it iterative of Divinity to like a crazy degree where is it like really similar?
I'm trying to think of like the perfect way of like how big of a jump. Because they have similarities, but it's a massive leap.
Like
Like
Dark
I'm
Souls
trying
to
to
Elden Ring style leap? Obviously totally different genres.
for me personally, I'd say that, but double it.
Okay. Well, I'm
Like
comfortable then.
that's how big of a leap, in my opinion. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
I'm totally comfortable leaving Baldur's Gate 3. at number two then. Um,
And then it
I
leapfrogs to number one.
I can't do that. Would you want to?
No,
Okay.
no, I couldn't. I couldn't. I think that for a lot of people, I think the reason The Witcher 3 has to stay at number one above all these other great games is that from that year onward, and because heavily due to that game's success, you saw a massive shift in media consumption to the point where movies weren't the number one. Gaming was finally going either head to head or even generating more money than it. And now we've seen the scales completely like it earns more than movies. It earns more than TV shows and stuff. Like it is dominant.
Well, and even within that, like you don't see Final Fantasy VII remake if The Witcher 3 doesn't succeed on the level that it's The Witcher 3 is at like 50 million copies sold. It's
Mm.
fucking crazy. You definitely don't get Final Fantasy 16 without The Witcher 3's success. And obviously, the Square doesn't quite have that CDPR. They don't have the chops in that regard to create the branching, wide-reaching, stories where you can have multiple different paths that you're going down. But in terms of a high fantasy, mature, like I think that's directly you can link that directly to The Witcher 3. I think that Dragon Age, the Veilguard, releasing in a few days, can directly be looked at and compared to The Witcher 3 because it's going for more of, and I know Inquisition was they become more and more of action games with each entry with Dragon Age, but this is like the furthest into action with Veilguard. And I think you look at The Witcher success and you see that inspiration obviously as well. And just to get it to the most simplest point, it's on both of our top 10 games of all time list. The Witcher 3 is on both of our top 10 all time list. So I think that's it's a clear number one for this list. Um,
Yep.
Loon, I think let's do one more. We'll do one pan through. And if there's anything we want to change, we speak now or forever.
Well, I think a cool thing would be to perfectly wrap up and tie in a bow is out of all of the entries we have on it, what is your biggest regret that it's landed where it's landed?
Oh,
Like
fun.
what hurts you the most to be like, man, that there, oof, if this was entirely my list, it wouldn't like you don't have to pick where it would slot into, but like be like, man, that would definitely wouldn't be there. Because I already know.
I damn, like I'm surprisingly content with this list.
Mm,
I'm very content with it. I would put Skyrim above God of War. I would put I'd probably put RE4 above. I don't know about that actually. I really don't know about that. That's super. I don't know, Loon. Where are you? What are you? What is your biggest regret?
Inquisition being so low. Because if you scroll, yeah, you scroll down. Like for me,
It Takes
if it was
Two
my
is
if it's my personal thing, it's above It Takes Two, it's above Skyrim. Scroll up again.
God of War.
It's above Oblivion for me as an RPG.
Okay, so that's up there, up
Oh,
there.
like it would definitely have broken into the top 10 for me. That's what I mean. Like there's a big jump from me to that. But then I'm sure like with you for Madden, like that's probably if it didn't have to factor in a bunch of these other games from an enjoyment standpoint for you and how important that was for you, that probably jumps up a few spots.
Probably, but here's something we can do easily. It Takes Two over Inquisition. All right,
Softens the blow.
yeah. Bump Inquisition over It Takes Two from 14 to 13. I because neither of us even finished It Takes Two. You finished Inquisition. I put like 30 hours into the damn game, and sure wasn't hot on it, or it wasn't like scorched earth hot on it, but it's a good game. It's got fucking great story. The open world's
Argue
just
GTA 4 over it then as well, if I'm being honest.
GTA 4 over It Takes Two.
Yeah, I'm sorry, It Takes Two. That's just yeah.
Yeah, we both finished GTA 4. There was enough there to, but the I don't know. That's kind of not fair in some sense though, because you and I are gonna finish the shit out of games sometimes we can't really rely on our buddies to finish games with us, and that's totally what happened with It Takes Two. I think if I would have finished It Takes Two, I think I'd have it above GTA 4. But we got to factor in what happened, so that's what happened.
And on top of that as well, the counter to the counter to the counter to the counter. If it resonated with you that deeply, It Takes Two, you would have found that other person. Like you wouldn't have been like, that's an excuse. That's
To be fair, I never even hit up my buddy again to
it's
remind him. Like it was just, yeah, you're
just like,
right.
oh well, it happens.
You're right.
Ooh, next game.
Yeah. I'll keep it. I'll keep it above Madden. Mm.
You won't get any argument from me if that falls 3 spots.
I'll keep it. I'll put Madden above it. I'll keep it above The Last of Us though, because The Last of Us, like, I really, really fucking do not like that story. The pacing of that game, like, I think that I think the pacing of that game is bad, like actively bad. Whereas I don't think anything of It Takes Two is bad, you know. So I'll
Sorry, Joseph Farris. Please don't swear at us.
do you want to Sekiro over? All right, we're going in circles. You put Sekiro below Last of Us, didn't you?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but that's because of the enjoyment. Like the story aside,
Right.
I enjoyed the gameplay so much in The Last of Us 2.
Yeah. Why the hell is my screen lagging so much? But anywho, I let's see. I think I'm good on this ranking. Is there anything on here that you want to change before we officially sign the dotted line?
No, I think that's fine for me.
All right. Loon, I'm gonna let you read this off to the people because my screen is just totally lagged the fuck out.
From one to the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, we'll start at 1 and go down to 21.
Right, well, the winner was The Witcher 3, and second place was Baldur's Gate 3, third, GTA San Andreas, fourth, Elden Ring, fifth, GTA 5, sixth, Red Dead Redemption 1, seventh, Resident Evil 4, eighth, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, ninth, Bioshock, 10th, God of War 2018, 11th, The Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, 12th, Uncharted 2, 13th, Dragon Age Inquisition, 14th, GTA 4, 15th, Madden, is that oh 04, you
Yep,
said?
2004.
Yep, Madden 2004. 16th, It Takes Two. 17th, The Last of Us Part 2. 18th, Sekiro. 19th, the first season of The Walking Dead. 20th, Breath of the Wild. And then sitting slap damn at the bottom is Overwatch, and rightfully so.
Shit, yeah, dude. Well, that is our list. I gotta get my damn screen figured out. I am like way, way delayed. But yeah, that is our list. The top 21 games of the last 20 plus 20 Jesus Christ. The last 21 years of Game Awards winners. Those are our rankings of each and every single one of those bad boys. Hit us in the comments with your list down below. Let us know the most egregious placements that we have made for these games. And yeah, I'm gonna get to work on my damn computer, figure out what the fuck's going on with my damn screen delayed like 85 seconds. But appreciate you good people for tuning in, and subscribe if you're new, like the video if you enjoyed the video, and we shall see you very, very soon. Goodbye.
See you later.